Good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Guess what? This morning I have a Kringle haul. They got me on the Memorial Day sale. A lot of the 3-wicks were discounted to like $13, $13.99. With Kringle, you do have to pay shipping though. And so you just have to kind of estimate that into whatever it is that you're purchasing to see if it makes sense. I've been wanting to try some of these 3-wicks, and it's been a hot minute since I've bought from Kringle. So I took the opportunity. I kind of felt like Memorial Day might be the last like big sale for Kringle in a while. I haven't seen that many of them for a bit. So yeah, and there were a couple fruit candles that I really wanted for like July. So I went ahead and got a few, and I picked up a few daylights too from their new spring summer collection, which I did not think looked very good on paper or frankly from the people's reactions to them, but there are some surprises. And I have to be honest, there are a few candles here that, I watched all the brand ambassadors, videos and whatnot, and I feel as though I didn't get a good impression on some of these. And a couple of them I would 100% repurchase. I actually went to the website to see, hey, are you giving us a sale on like mediums or something like that? And they weren't. So I'm not gonna pull the trigger right now on a couple of these daylights, but I definitely would. And this is no shade toward like the brand ambassadors or anybody who did videos, but everybody smells things differently, And it's really important, frankly, that as many people as possible review these candles so that you can get an impression, because it's kind of like like the proverbial like elephant and all the blind people like feeling it out, trying to figure out what it is that they were, looking at. And you get this kind of piecemeal description of a fragrance. Yeah. So anyway, if it's helpful at all, I'm going to give you my impressions of some of these new candles. And like I said, there were some really big surprises for me. I just recently dropped the Bridgerton Study candle, and I really hated it. And I felt bad about it. Like, I've beaten myself up. I'm like, you were maybe too negative, or like, there were people that liked it. In the comments, a lot of people were like, I really loved it. And then on the Bath & Body Works website, when I went to it, there were so many people that were like, this is the best candle I've ever smelled from Bath & Body Works, And it just goes to show you that everybody kind of smells things differently. There is some amount of objectivity. I do actually think that it's not all subjective, and especially the more that you can explain why it is that you feel a certain kind of way or why you're passing a certain kind of judgment on candles, that really helps out, so that it's not just like, it's not my preference, but if you can point to like specific things. I think this candle is not well balanced. It's not, like I said, I think that there are still objective qualities to candles, but a lot of it is subjective. It really is. And so I can only hope, especially with the bergamot one, that those of you who love it weren't offended. And I think that frankly on YouTube and with reviewers, at least for me, I don't mind when a reviewer is like, I can't stand this candle, even if I love it, because I kind of like when people are just authentic and when they have like transparent opinions and experiences, even if they're not my own. And like, this is a free country and I'm a free woman, so I can like whatever I want. And I hope you all feel that way too. Seriously, especially with something as subjective as home fragrance. But I do think that it's sometimes really helpful for people to just be honest about what it is that they like or dislike. And that also makes things more entertaining. It's like good TV. It's good YouTube. You know what I mean? Not that we should embellish or amplify like our feelings. Some of us don't need embellishment because we're Italian American, if you know what I mean. All right, I have my microphone that I'm gonna attach here because it's just sitting here in my hand. Absolutely no good. Okay, so let's talk about the candles that I hauled, and I didn't haul that many of them. The major sale is on the 3-wicks right now. The thing with the 3-wicks is that they are trying they introduced the 100%, so here's one of them, by the way, 100% soy 3-wick a couple years ago. And they were just limited. I don't love the wick placement on this. It's not terrible, but I don't love it. Anyway, close parentheses on that. They introduced this format a year or two ago, and they really were just kind of limited edition, and they were considered designer because they were painted, as opposed to like the photo label, which is what most of their candles have. They have invested heavily in this format, and I think they're heavily investing in this format going forward. And there's a reason for that. The quiet reason is that I think that they're competing with Bath and Body Works, who has made this their major format, their only format in a lot of ways, and many candles are duping it. And the reason why is not only because of the association and the success of Bath and Body Works, but because 3 wicks for a diameter like this and a vessel this size is actually really successful. It kind of hits the sweet spot in terms of what you want for strength, for throw, for pull, given a specific wax formula. Yeah. Kringle has had, though, for a very long time, and this is what kind of makes me feel a certain kind of way. Kringle has had the like modern 100% soy tumblers, right, that look like pillars, like Doric pillars, which is fine. I think it's a very nice aesthetic. And then they also have like that country style apothecary jar, which is very old school Yankee Candle. Now, from what I can tell, or from what I can remember, Kringle did experiment with a lot of other formats at a lot of other times. And every now and then they will do, especially at Christmas or something, some limited edition vessels that are completely and entirely different. But I would say that for the most part, over the last several years, if not a decade, Kringle has really kind of honed in on the two formats of the Doric style pillar and the country apothecary. And those are 2-wick candles respectively for both of them. And the 2 wicks worked really well. Really well. 2 wicks worked well when the country style was 100% paraffin. 2 wicks worked well with 100% soy. With the diameter of that, it's lovely. And it's very like quintessentially Kringle. I think it's a very beautiful aesthetic. It's thoughtful. It works for them. And so in some ways, I don't love the fact that they're going to something now which is not as evocatively Kringle, to be perfectly honest. And the reason that they're doing it is not only to compete aesthetically with Bath and Body Works, but it's because now, given the fact that they have moved all the way over to 100% soy, it has become obvious to everyone, and the consumer base included, that they need an additional wick on the 100% soy, because the 100% soy does not project. It does not have the same amount of strength and throw. It does not have the same amount of depth in terms of fragrance expression, etc., etc., etc. And we've had this conversation on my channel for a very long time, and I've made no secret of the fact that I don't love soy. Although I do receive the fact that soy does burn like a dream. There's no question. Very clean burning, very, like you can burn it really long. It's just, and by long, I mean that the candle actually has a shorter burn time, because at least from my experience, the soy candles burn down faster than like a paraffin does. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But in your house, you can burn a soy candle for 6, 8, 10 hours and be okay with it. Doing that, it won't destroy it. It won't like be black all over the jar, etc. I receive all of that. I'm just not a fan for what it does for fragrance and what it does for strength and throw. Close parentheses on that. It has now become obvious to everyone that Kringle needs to do at least 3 wicks. And now they're even testing out 4 wicks. And on a certain level, I do support this initiative because by hook or by crook, they need to get strength and throw back in their fleet. And if they're not interested or willing to readdress the soy formula, then they are just going to have to add a lot of wicks. The thing about it is the more wicks that you have, you are also increasing the potential of soot because you have more flames. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So at a certain point, there is a tipping point where it's like, how many wicks do we need to get strength and throw? And at that point, given the amount of extra carbon residue and flames, would it be better for us to drop down to 1 wick or 2 wicks with more of a paraffin formula? You see what I'm saying? There becomes like a trade-off moment with the number of wicks. How many are we gonna need? It's like one of those like birthday cakes of somebody who's in like a senior center, you know, and they've got like 77 wicks on their candle. God bless. But like, and then the smoke alarms go off and all that sort of thing. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about the increasing investment of Kringle into more wicks. Yes, it is a short-term solution to the problem, which is that soy does not have good strength and throw. But what we're going to see happen is that traditional tumbler format, whether it's like the modern tumbler or whether it's the classic apothecary, is just going to go away because the 2-wick style of any kind is not going to be sufficient or adequate for the soy formula. And that kind of makes me sad because I do like the silhouette of those two and they've been associated with Kringle for so long, and I'm going to I miss it. I lament the fact that those formats are going to become obsolete. But for me personally, when I buy a candle from Kringle, I prefer the other aesthetic, but I'm going to go for this because it has an additional wick and I have a much better chance of actually smelling it in my house. So, does it make me a little upset as a consumer to feel pressure to buy this? Yes. When for me personally, the traditional Kringle aesthetic is more what I would want in my house. It's more what I associate with Kringle. It makes me feel a certain kind of way. And all things being equal, I really feel as though 2 wicks should be sufficient. Okay, end of story there. End of story. Let's talk about these 3 wicks. So quickly, I mean, I've been talking about this one. I brought home Kringle, or Coral. This is Coral. This one was on clearance and I loved it from the Christmas season, and I have had it in daylight form, but I've never bought it in an actual candle form, and I really liked it in daylight form, and that is Snowy Bridge. Snowy Bridge. And I just thought that that was a really stunning motif, although we're going to talk about the way that these designs are coming across here in a second. This is a new one. I got what are they calling it? Sage and Palo Santo. So it's just reversed from Bath & Body Works, which is Palo Santo Sage. And then I have 2 fruit candles. I have crushed blueberry with this motif all the way around it. And I also have Pitanga Peach, which looks like this. Okay. And then I got actually a few daylights because I did not consider that I was going to like them, but I at least wanted to try them out. From the new collection, Cotton Flowers, I have Lemon Tea and Roses, and I have Eucalyptus and Cotton, and I have Sand and Santal. Okay, so that's what I've got here. Just another sidebar here on the presentation. Now, I have never been a fan of their painted 3 wicks. Not gonna lie to you. Also, I want to show you. So, and this is, I think, a design mistake, but there is the painted needs to shift down. So there's this like white band across all of these, frankly, right at the bottom. So it should be flush with the lip of the jar, and it's not. And it just contributes an air of cheapness to the entire thing. So actually, when I first got these, I was like, oh, like, let me just slide this wraparound down. And then I realized it wasn't a wraparound. So this is bad. this actually has the cheapness of a wraparound. It looks like a wraparound, and in fact it's painted. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds in that I suspect that painting it is more expensive than actually just a wraparound. But if you're painting it and it costs more money to paint it, but it looks like a cheap wraparound, that's a big problem. It's a really big problem. And it's not just the fact that like the painting hasn't gone all the way down to the edge. There is a cheapness about the way that the paint actually comes across when you're looking at it up close. And it's particularly obvious in designs like this. I don't know if you can tell, but you can actually see, and I don't know exactly how it's being like paint printed on the vessel. It's die cut or I don't know. Those of you who are in the craft world will be able to tell me how it is that they are printing this on the jar itself, but you can see the lines of the printer in it. Where else did I notice that? Like maybe on the peach one? I don't know if you can tell. There's just like lines running across and even like little like print, like, you know how like when you're printing something and the ink is running out and like one line is like darker than the other one. It's not a good look. It's really cheap looking. And I've said this before. I think that there are technical issues with the quote unquote designer painted things, and the designs that they use are often a little on the tacky side. I'm just not gonna lie to you. Hold for 1 second, because off camera here, I mentioned this when I hauled it the other day. This is a Palo Santo by Bath and Body Works, okay? Friends, this is a wraparound. Do you see the seam? This is a wraparound that looks more expensive, looks more thoughtful, looks more purposeful than any of these actual painted candles. Like right up next to it, this one looks super cheap next to this one. And this one even has on the wraparound, do you see the texture on it? There's texture in the painting. Look, I mean, it's one of those like wraparounds that if you touched it and looked at it like super up close, it actually looks like it is painted on the jar in a really beautiful way, and it's actually not. Do you see how this is the worst of both worlds and this is the best of both worlds? It's a cheap wraparound, but it looks expensive and it looks like it's painted. This one is painted, but it looks like a cheap wraparound. You see what I mean? That's the difference here. So I really think Kringle needs to work that out because for me personally, the presentation is just not where it needs to be. And it gives me another reason to prefer the traditional tumblers. I'm sorry, I feel like I've really this is not, they say when you're gonna critique something, you have to have like the sandwich where like positive things first, a little bit of negative, and then positive things at the end. And I have not done that. I have it's a shit sandwich. Like I've put all the negative at the top. I'm so sorry. I honestly didn't plan it that way. It's just that I'm introducing the candles and I feel like this is the best moment to kind of flag some personal things that I don't like, but I think also just some technical production issues that are cheapening the product and not in a good way. There have been, and I even heard a couple brand ambassadors say that these are new lids here, these Kringle lids, and they're all exactly the same. They're kind of a brushed metal, and they are cheaper than some of the lids that they've done in the past. I personally don't care about the lid, and I think these lids are absolutely fine. Yes, they do look a little bit more cheap than some of the ones that they've done before, but to be honest, they're absolutely serviceable. I kind of like the brushed quality of it. I think it's a little bit more subtle. And to be honest, when I burn a candle, that lid goes away. And I really just kind of use the lid as something that helps with storage. Sorry. So for me personally, I hear you guys when you're like, oh, these look a little bit more cheap, and they are in fact more cheap, but this is actually a cost saving measure or a production thing that I don't mind. It's fine. Use that money wisely. I don't know that investing in lids, and I'm looking at you, Bath and Body Works, is necessarily the direction I would like to see them go. Use that money elsewhere. For sure. The lid, I mean, I appreciate when Bath and Body Works does like a really fun lid that actually like works well. It does lend to the aesthetic experience, there's no question, but when I burn it, this tends to sit off to the side, and exactly how many lids can you just save? Like it's not really about the lid. It is much more about the label, and so I would rather Kringle work on the label situation. Okay, so let's talk, Snowy Bridge is one that I've smelled before, but it does smell so lovely. These do dent very easily as well, just FYI. So Snowy Bridge, and this is a long-standing one in their collection, Frosted Fir, Juniper Glitter, Citron, Midnight Skies, Jasmine, Silver Spruce, Vanilla Crystal, and Patchouli Kiss. And the limited edition wraparound is new, I think from last fall, last holiday season. There's a Snowy Bridge motif. I think it's kind of like bronzy looking. It's fine. This I thought was really beautiful, although like I said, once I got it in my hands and up close, there's a real cheapness to it, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Gosh, this fragrance smells good. It really does. Yeah, there's a lot of like spruce in it, but there's a muskiness and almost a smokiness. And I know it doesn't say smoky, but it may be like the patchouli in there, you know, with the juniper, Midnight Skies, who knows what that is. Ooh, it's just real good, and it has an ozone quality to it. And it doesn't say ozone either, but it's got a very like outdoorsy kind of, but also smoky and fur-like quality to it. I'm here for this fragrance. It does smell a little soft, a little light in terms of the on cold experience, but I'm hoping with the 3 wicks it'll be fine. All right, then let's go. All the rest of these are fairly new. Let's do the fruit ones. So here is Pitanga Peach, and actually I didn't even look up Pitanga. I assume it's a specific kind of peach. Yikes. If it's not, I will correct myself in the data down below. Okay, so Pitanga Peach came out. They had a big, enormous fruit 3 wick situation. I've got it on my phone. I think it was probably in February or March when these all came out. And I was interested in these two specifically, Pitanga and the Blueberry. So I'm always chasing a good peach candle, and I'm always chasing a good blueberry candle. So I definitely wanted to try these, and I think everybody liked them. There were a few real misses in that particular fruit collection. These two were not misses. So Pitanga Peach, unfortunately, the notes on these are completely phoned in like a Kringle way, in a special Kringle way. Pitanga Peach is top notes juicy, peachy. Mid notes wild, sweet. So just random adjectives. And the base note is tropical, another adjective. So no nouns. Juicy, peachy, wild, sweet, and tropical. Okay, that's not very helpful to us. I like it. I don't know that I love it. So it will depend upon how it comes across when burned. Yes, there is a strong peach, a very strong and juicy peach, but actually it kind of loses a little bit of authenticity, because as you smell it long, there's a sourness and a I don't know what it is. I think it's a wild tropical note. Is it possible there's pineapple? It's possible there's pineapple. Or something similar, which is giving it like a really tangy sour note. And don't get me wrong, peach can go a little bit tangy and sour, but it's not the tangy and sourness that you would associate with a peach. It's the tangy and sour, like almost bright acidic note that you would associate with a pineapple. Don't get me wrong, it's dominantly peach. I think there's some pineapple in here and I'm not here for it. And the sour note it just kind of goes off at the end and it's just so unnecessary. Yeah. I think it's a lot of pineapple. I think it's peach pineapple. And we've had a lot of pineapple candles from Kringle lately. So makes it even more likely that that's what that note is. I could be wrong. And I'm really just kind of going on my cold sniff impressions. But that's my impression, is that it's peach and pineapple. And I would have liked just peach. And I would have liked some like green elements maybe. It is a beautiful peach, but it's not, like you don't smell the fuzz, if you know what I mean. It's less kind of nectarous and it's more sharp, acidic, and citrus than I would like, which makes me think there's a good deal of pineapple in here. Tell me what you think, those of you who got it, those of you who smelled it. That's my impression. However, I did like it better than blueberry. So here's blueberry, crushed blueberries. And I knew that this was going to be a tough one because I've realized this over the years. I'm a blueberry snob. I'm a blueberry snob. So for those of you, oh, look at my nails. It's like so blueberry too. So for those of you who don't know, I am one of those OG Yankee Candle blueberry girls. And don't get me wrong, that OG blueberry candle from Yankee Candle is a very specific kind of blueberry fragrance. It's not necessarily authentic in any kind of botanical way at all. It is its own deal. It's very jammy. It's very musky. It's just very, and it's also got that like candied blueberry to it. It's a very bassy candle actually. And it's like on a scale from 1 to 10, it's like a strength of like 12 or 13. It is its own deal. And I adore it. And I actually have, I have like 12 or 13 of them in my storage. Like OG black band blueberries. Like I'm hoarding them like they're gold bars. But since then, and nothing will take away the grandeur of that particular candle, which by the way was designed and was produced by Mick Kittredge's father, obviously. Blueberry is probably the most OG of all OG Yankee candles. There is a cult following for blueberry. Cult. I was reading online once that like somebody actually put votives of the blueberry candle in her wedding bouquet, okay? And I believe it. 70s, 80s, 90s, there was no candle that was more quintessentially old school Yankee candle than that blueberry candle. And it comes back frequently, just not with the same strength and throw, if you know what I mean. I have always been chasing, though, other blueberry candles, not only because I kind of love blueberry, but also because I've kind of, like, nothing can touch that particular vibe, but I wouldn't mind having, like, some authentic botanical blueberry candles that are not going to compete with the muskiness of that original one. So I've always been kind of chasing, like, a more authentic blueberry candle, a more lightweight blueberry candle, if you will, that could be, like, my favorite, but just almost in a different blueberry genre. This is not it. I'm still chasing it. I really want to try Blueberry Patch from Homeworks, and I haven't tried it, but I really want to. So I can't tell you how it compares. And I can't tell you how Homeworks Peach compares to that one either. So I was looking at the Homeworks sale this weekend, and I was like, oh, let the market or farm stand peach be on sale, but it really kind of wasn't, unless you bought like multiples of something, and I couldn't do it. But I'm really hoping, I want to get a farm stand peach and a farm stand blueberry from Homeworks, which are very popular and have cult followings in Homeworks, and just see how they are. But I wish I had them before this to be able to compare. Okay, so crushed blueberry has also not helpful notes. Top notes berry and juicy, mid notes summery, base notes fresh blueberries. So fresh blueberries is really the only noun that we have, and then berry, juicy, summery. No. All right, so it's not good. But, you know, when it burns, maybe it'll transform. I'm hoping it does. And I will burn it. So it's kind of like a Pop-Tart blueberry, which is fine. I mean, OG blueberry from Yankee Candle is by no means botanical or authentic, so it's fine. I enjoy myself a blueberry Pop-Tart and Jolly Ranchers like everyone else. But it is like a Pop-Tart blueberry, you know, that filling, chased with cream, actually. So I think that this could very easily be marketed as blueberries and cream. I was thinking the other day, like, why is there no blueberry ice cream? They have strawberry ice cream all over the place, but why not blueberry ice cream? You know, like, you can live half a decade and then all of a sudden be like, why do we not have blueberry ice cream? This will keep me up at night. Who has come out with a blueberry ice cream? Like, just blueberry. Anyway, this could be a blueberry ice cream. To be perfectly honest, it kind of has a warm cream aspect to it, which I will explain in a minute, which smells very much like a blueberry pie a la mode, where you have the blueberry pie and it's really warm, and then the ice cream is kind of like melting over it. That's what it smells like, just no crust note. So could this 100% be repackaged as blueberry pie a la mode? 100%. Will Kringle probably do this? 100%. They will. Because to me, that's kind of what it smells like. It definitely doesn't smell like crushed blueberries in any kind of authentic sense. The reason why I say warm cream is because, unfortunately, the cream or milk note here is going a little sour, which can happen when you warm it. It starts bringing out those like more sour milk-like qualities to it, and it's definitely what's coming across here. And it's not a tangy like cream cheese kind of note. It's like a warmed milk kind of sourness. I can't say it's unpleasant unless that turns you off. It does a little bit for me. It's not unpleasant, like it's not like beyond the point that it's enjoyable. And as long as you think of it as blueberries, crushed blueberries that are a little bit candied with warm cream, which is a vibe, then I think you're going to be happy with this one. But for me, it's not, as with the Pitanga Peach, not quite as authentic, not quite as a fresh, and not quite as much of a singular fruit experience as you would think. So, like I said, not bad candles, not unpleasant, but the marketing and the branding and the scent notes make it seem like you're getting a very singular fruit experience, and I don't think either of them are. Although Pitanga Peach, I think you are getting a singular fruit experience. It's just not all peach. It's like peach and pineapple, and this crushed blueberries is definitely like a candied Pop-Tart blueberry with warm cream. I again, its own vibe, just not what I was expecting, not quite what I wanted. But let's see how they burn. Let's see how they burn, okay? All right, then let's move to the new candles. And these new candles were new for spring. Let's go with coral first. So here's coral, which is actually really lovely and does not show up quite as many of the printing errors. Maybe because it's like textured a little bit, I'm not really sure, but it did very well on the printer. Unfortunately, it's just kind of cut off here toward the bottom, so there is a little bit of cheapness there. But if you set it, like I've got this marble pedestal here from Aldi's, which gets all the work and was well worth the whatever it was, $8 that it was. If you set this right on here like this, especially if you've got like a white base, it's gonna minimize that like cutting off effect. So, and that's probably what I would do anyway. So not a complete loss, but probably shouldn't happen. So the notes here on coral are top notes: ozonic freshness, sparkling bergamot, splash of lemon. Mid notes: lavender, sandalwood. Base notes: creamy tonka bean, smooth amber, and sheer musk. Okay, so I mean, on paper, you are probably getting a perfume conceptual because you've got sandalwood, lavender, you've got tonka bean, amber, musk, and then you have the bergamot notes on top. So bergamot with the musk gives you that perfume or cologne, frankly, sense. And what makes it a little bit more feminine as opposed to masculine would be the amount of like wood, for instance, and maybe how fresh it is. If it's very fresh, it could go unisexual. You know what I mean? There's no floral in here. If there was floral, then it might go more feminine perfume. This is unisexual, but it is a perfume conceptual. It's really nice. It is very bright. It does have high notes, so there's a good amount of the bergamot and lemon. Yeah. It's a strong citrus note, but it's not a fresh citrus note, if that makes sense. It's like a citrus oil up at the top, which gives it a little bit of brassiness and a little bit of like citrus-like brightness. With the ozonic, has kind of a mineral-like aspect to it, along with that like citrus oil that just evokes like sunscreen. It doesn't go full board sunscreen. It really doesn't. It's just kind of got those like mineral citrus elements that kind of come across as something that you would associate with something vaguely beachy or sunscreeny, yeah? Which is good given the marketing. And then you have a great amount of like amber and yeah, I think the tonka amber and the musk, along with the sandalwood, it says creamy tonka bean. It has a very like creamy, grounding, warm, creamy dimension to it, which is great because the sharp citrus notes on top need to be cut with something ideally creamy, right? Warm, grounding. Otherwise, they kind of fly away and it's just too much brassiness. Yeah, I like it. It's a simple fragrance. I am concerned that upon burning it, this really bright bergamot, lemon, mineral, citrusy sunscreen element is going to come across the loudest because it's your top notes, and there's a real like aggressiveness to that. And I'm worried that like the creamy tonka part of it is gonna drop away a little bit or not amplify in the same way. So I really want the fragrance to hold together when it is burned, because I'm here not so much for the bergamot, I'm here for the creamy tonka bean, if you know what I mean. But it's definitely, as a fragrance, it makes sense because there is that citrusy fruitiness, which adds not only a brightness and an assertiveness to the fragrance, but also gives it, I think, its most unique quality. It kind of cuts the tonka bean too, you know? Yeah, I think if I didn't know the marketing or branding, I would say it smells vaguely aquatic or beachy. But it is a perfume conceptual. It's a perfume conceptual. It's really nice. It's really nice, but it has the potential to be a little bit thin, biting, and aggressive with all of the top notes, with all of that bergamot. It's a ton of bergamot. It's a lot of bergamot and amber, similar to that Bridgerton candle. It's a lot of bergamot and amber, but this one is like more pleasing, I think, than Bergamot Study. And whereas Bergamot Study has all of the like deep musk with like clove and like a leather-like feel, which definitely goes very masculine, this one is brighter and warmer with the tonka bean, which I love. Tonka bean, musk. There's a creaminess. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. It's really nice. And gosh, I love it when Kringle does conceptuals. It's a really nice conceptual. We'll have to see how it burns. So no secret, I am a big Bath & Body Works Palo Santo and Sage fan. If you've been on this channel for any length of time. In fact, I've already pronounced myself the informal, unofficial CEO of Palo Santo for Bath & Body Works. It's a department. It's an imaginary department, and I'm the CEO of it. I love the Palo Santo note from Bath & Body Works. I think it's the new mahogany note, and I think it needs to find its way in a whole family of candles. I think it's more palatable. I think it's more pleasing. I think it's more versatile than their mahogany note. And there's definitely been a mahogany era for Bath & Body Works. I think we're going to the Palo Santo era for Bath & Body Works, and I am so here for it. And I'm especially fond of Palo Santo and Sage, which a lot of companies are now getting on the bandwagon. Kringle is not immune to this trend. So Sage and my tongue kind of trips over because it's the reverse. Sage and Palo Santo from Kringle. Top notes: citrus, bergamot, lemon, sage. Mid notes: oregano, lavender, and jasmine. And base notes: amber, musk, and woody. So actually on paper, very similar to coral. And the only Palo Santo note that they list here is, I mean, they just say woody. So we would hope that it's Palo Santo. Again, on paper, you have a cologne, probably, with the wood note, oregano, and the herbal dimension, sage, oregano, which are more austere herbs, but you do have jasmine. That's the wild card, right? So maybe unisexual? No. No. This is masculine. And by the way, I like use those like gendered adjectives really just to kind of categorize particular fragrances that at this point might be somewhat arbitrary. This is a free country. Like, you smell, you wear, you like whatever you want. on this channel, and you know this again, if you've been here for any time, I lean very masculine in terms of my scent preferences, very masculine. So it doesn't bother me to call a candle masculine, like, so what? Like, it's my favorite. I don't need to dislike it or apologize just because I identify as a woman. You know what I mean? So please take that with a grain of salt. This is traditional men's cologne. This is a men's cologne. And for me, there's not enough freshness and there's not enough woodiness in it for it to even be in the same category as Palo Santo and Sage from Bath & Body Works. So Palo Santo, oh man, that's good. Palo Santo and Sage from Bath & Body Works has, I think, some musk in it. So the notes here are clary sage, Palo Santo, and ambered woods. So your amber and your woods and your ambered woods as a conceptual accord probably has a great deal of musk in it, and amber has a musky quality to it, especially if it hits really deep, right? Not even to mention the sage up against the wood, which is going to give you kind of more of a masculine leaning vibe too. But what I love about this candle is that it is for the most part a very authentic, rugged, pure kind of fragrance. Yes, there is musk for sure, but you really smell the Palo Santo wood and the sage. So this is a stripped down, very pure spa-like kind of wood. And you don't for a second, the dominant note here is Palo Santo. It's Palo Santo. And so the branding does not lie here. And this is just a beautiful, in many ways, I think that Palo Santo and Sage from Bath & Body Works, like, recommends and sets off, highlights the Palo Santo note even better than original Palo Santo. Original Palo Santo has a great deal of musk in it. And the musk does kind of compete with the Palo Santo. I mean, it's a beautiful candle, but it does go toe-to-toe with the Palo Santo. Here, the musk is like very supporting cast. And you have the sage and the Palo Santo. And the sage is incredible. It's sweet, but it's also assertive and rugged. And like, it's a fantastic sage note, but it does not compete with the Palo Santo note, which is just brilliant. It's brilliant. It's woody, it's warm, it's almost wine-like. I mean, it's just gorgeous. This is a stripped down candle. This one is not. I mean, this is just straight up a men's cologne. And when you smell them point to point, it's just all the more obvious, like how, frankly, generic men's cologne this is. Now, this is very much in the category of, frankly, that Bridgerton candle. But it feels a little bit more balanced to me than the Bridgerton candle, even on cold. It's just got like a lot of really traditional, like musky, woody elements on the base. I don't know that I'm definitely not getting as much Palo Santo in here as I get in the Bath & Body Works candle. And the woody dimension could be almost any kind of wood. Which is perhaps no coincidence then that in the scent notes they just list woody. And that's it. They don't even say it's Palo Santo. There's something like almost soda Coca-Cola like. And I said this in the Bridgerton candle. Sometimes when you get a clove up against a brown sugar or a vanilla with some musk, it really comes across as like a Coca-Cola note, because those are the elements of like Coca-Cola. Here, almost a root beer. Like I said, these are nuances. I mean, this is like, you know, when somebody's drinking wine and they're like, I'm getting raspberry. I'm also getting a little bit of smoke. And you're like, I think it tastes like wine to me. Like, we're talking that level. Like, you're not going to open this candle and be like, this is a root beer candle. But I'm smelling deep right now with the way that the fragrance notes. It might be the oregano. and the lavender up against the amber. And then the citrus and the bergamot are giving kind of an effervescence. Does that make sense? Yeah, the sage and the oregano, along with the citrus, and then there's a great deal of sweetness from the amber, but it could also be vanilla or a tonka. It's not a bad men's cologne. It's really very nice, very woody, very fall. So yeah, I would say that this is a men's cologne conceptual that leans rugged and herbal. To be honest, the herbal elements are even a little bit louder than the woody elements. The sage and the oregano. Not that you would necessarily pick them out as sage and oregano, but you get the sense of this like very herbal, woody kind of thing. It does, and I said this in the Bridgerton candle, because men's shower gels, shaving creams, etc., body washes, even over the counter at the grocery store are starting to get very like bougie and hipster and sophisticated. They all have to look like craft, like bourbon, you know, bottles or something like that. Because of those trends, this unfortunately is not brilliant or innovative in a unique way. Many of the men's body care items now are smelling like this, which is great. It's great. It just means that the bar has been raised. We are past the era of Old Spice and Axe. We are in a new era where men's shower gels are just more thoughtful. And actually, I tend to reach for a men's shower gel now when I'm at Target over the women's, partly for because I lean that direction, but the shower gels have gotten more thoughtful. They've just gotten more thoughtful. Even like Dove and Old Spice and various others are like trying to step up their game now, you know? So within that era, this definitely fits very nicely into it, but I don't know that it's like more mind-blowing than what you would kind of expect from a men's situation now. It's nice. It's nice, and I will definitely burn it, but probably September-ish, something like that. Does not hold a candle, though, to Palo Santo and Sage from Bath & Body Works, especially if you're looking for a more stripped-down, pure, spa-like, authentic wood and, especially Palo Santo wood, but wood and herbs, in my opinion. Again, this is a cologne conceptual. I do think Kringle does perfume cologne conceptuals very well. They do conceptuals well across the board. And speaking of that, let's talk about some of these. And I know we're going on so long. I just kind of feel bad because I feel like at the beginning of this video there was negative stuff, but I've really got such positive things to say about at least 2 of these candles here. So I should have said that from the very beginning. If you've stayed this long and you really love Kringle, this is your moment. Okay, so let's talk about the ones that I didn't like quite as well here. Let's do Sand and Santal right here. It's a very nice little label. Sand and Santal. And the notes on Sand and Santal are top notes aquatic, citrus, mid notes neroli, coconut, base notes lily and musk. It's so funny when you like smell candles in conjunction with each other. So when I smelled this before, out of order with the order I just did, I wasn't getting any floral in this at all. It was just all like kind of sunscreeny, citrus, bergamontish, you know. I did not like it at all. And now I'm getting all of this neroli and lily, and I'm like loving it. So it must mean that like up against this candle, which has like an aggressive amount of like bergamot, and it's like deep, heavy perfume bergamot, that it makes the citrus element here kind of fade away by comparison, and it's allowing me to smell those layers underneath, if that makes any sense. Whereas before, when I smelled it up against other candles that didn't have like the cologne perfume dimension in it, all I smelled when I opened this up was like sunscreen, citrus, you know? It was just bright and like brassy. So actually I'm more interested in this now that I smell the neroli and the lily. Not as much coconut as I would like. And I really think the coconut would be nice and welcome. And then it does have an aquatic, brassy, citrus bergamot thing, which goes sunscreeny. I don't know that the sunscreeny element goes very well with the neroli lily. It, to me, seems kind of like two separate candles. And the coconut might have been able to make that all work, but I'm not sure that the coconut is really coming across very prominently. It's not a particularly fruity candle. And I really think that could have been the glue to kind of like blend them all together. I didn't like it when I first smelled it, although now I'm like kind of thinking twice. So let's burn it up and see what happens. I'm not a huge fan of the sunscreen genre, period. But I do like neroli. And I am a beachy girl. We'll see. But initially, I was going to pass on that one. All right, here's another one I kind of would pass on. Eucalyptus and cotton. And by pass on it, I mean I'll definitely burn both of them. I mean, this is a laundry day scent. That said, it's a basey laundry day scent, which I kind of like. Like, it's not all up in your grill, like Laundry Day from Bath & Body Works, where it's like, we're doing laundry today. This is basey. It's got a ton of musk in it. So this one is top notes lemon bergamot. So it should have high notes, but I'm getting hardly any high notes here. It does have, it kind of opens up to a tiny little bit of something. It's like a powdery, it's got like a powdery flush at the top of the fragrance. But I would say the top of this fragrance is like a high mid note. Like, it's not even into the really high range. And I don't know if I would say it's citrusy. Eucalyptus is in the top note. And I would say, yes, that the eucalyptus is barely smellable, but it's just adding this kind of clean spa-like dimension to it. Yeah, it's just kind of clean spa. Clean spa. And I would say that it's solidly in the mid-range. And it might be that kind of like powdery little element toward the top. So I think it's right to put eucalyptus higher here. The mid notes are clean cotton, sage. Not getting a ton of sage, but I think that it is contributing with the eucalyptus with more of a spa-like fresh and clean rather than a soapy fresh and clean, which I'm kind of here for. White powder. I mean, white powder doesn't really have a scent. Also, what white powder are you talking about? Base notes, white musk, amber, soft woods. It's a basey candle. It's basey, but the brightness of the cotton note with the cleanness and the freshness and the soft, sweet eucalyptus spa-like thing is all up high. And while it is while it does have a good musky dimension, it works beautifully. It really does. I am not a laundry day girl, but this is a really nice laundry day candle. It might be my laundry day candle. Again, I said I wasn't going to like it, but now that I'm like smelling it again, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe. Let's see how that one burns up. These two I really like. All right, so let's go with this one, which is lemon tea and roses right here. It's kind of a weird, it's like a top-down photo, but I keep thinking that it's like some sort of like, they look like chocolate truffles, but it's really just the dark tea with like a lemon section on top, but it just doesn't look like it. I think they needed, whatever, it's fine. It's just a label. Okay. Lemon tea is top notes lemon, grapefruit, bergamot. Man, we've got a lot of candles with the bergamot. Green tea, mid notes jasmine, violet, basil, mint, rose. Base notes moss, amber, sandalwood, musk. It's really nice. It is a conceptual, but it's not really a perfume conceptual. So, despite the lemon, grapefruit, and bergamot, those are coming across as like fairly botanical elements as opposed to like perfume oil elements. I'm not getting much green tea, but there is kind of like a vague greenness about the fragrance. I'm also not getting a whole lot of mint. So if mint kind of bothers you, don't worry about that here. It is a floral candle. And it's a very nice concoction of jasmine and rose. Violet is not going to contribute a whole lot. Yeah. I would say more on the rose than the jasmine here. But the jasmine is kind of filling out the rose and giving it less of a powdery dimension than it otherwise would have, which is kind of welcome. I'm not getting a whole lot of anything herbal, either basil or mint, but I wonder if whatever the basil and the mint notes or elements are here, if they're contributing an element of greenness, of botanical greenness, which is really nice. And then you do have kind of a vague muskiness to it. I would call this one white musk. It's very light. It's not basey, but it's giving it some depth. It's not overly ambery, as in it's not like super warm. I would say it's more botanical. But because it does have amber, sandalwood, and some bergamot, it is giving it a conceptual feel as opposed to like just a straight up botanical candle. Like I said, no tea to speak of that I can smell, but it's really nice. It's a really lovely conceptual, and it's a really lovely spring conceptual. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It's really nice. And then this one, which was a huge surprise to me, cotton flowers, last but not least. This was very polarizing. The notes on this one are mint in the top, freesia and lemon in the mid, rose and wood in the base. Gosh, I love this candle. And it's such a surprise to me because it is dominant with mint. And I'm not a mint person. This candle is very reminiscent of like dewdrops from Kringle, which has a cult following. There was another spa-like one too, and I can't remember which one it was, that had mint in it too. Kringle did several conceptuals back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean like 6 years ago. They had several conceptuals that were spa-like and that had a very strong kind of fruity mint aspect to them. It was almost a trademark kind of Kringle smell, and this is very much in that genre. It's a fruity mint. Kind of, so the mint is very soft and it goes spa-like. So it's like mint with, So some of those and I haven't even reminded myself of the notes of like dewdrops at all, but they often had like an apple note in them or a pear note, some fruity note along with the mint, and an aquatic aspect to the whole thing that went a little bit like cucumber-like. Yeah, that is this. Yeah, it's a fruity mint. What's the fruit then? The only fruit listed here is lemon. It's not lemon. But you know what it could be? It could be the freesia. The freesia and the mint. And man, I love freesia because freesia is one of those white florals that goes fruity. So it must be freesia up against mint. How interesting is that? It's a freesia mint. Gosh, I'm here for it. It reminds me of the Jasmine Rain. I mean, it's not the same. It doesn't have the same notes. Jasmine Rain from Homeworks does not have mint in it, but it's the same vibe in that it's clean, it's aquatic, and it's floral. And there was freesia in that, a lot of freesia in that Jasmine Rain. It should have been named Freesia Rain, right? Man, I love freesia. Freesia is just, it's one of those white florals that is fruity and aquatic. And that's exactly what this is. Fruity, aquatic mint. Oh, and it's so gorgeous. Arguably, this is my favorite of the entire thing. And it's so unexpected because so many people hated this candle. I didn't know what to think about it. It's really misnamed. Why did they call it cotton? There's like, even in the notes, there's no cotton note at all. And it's redundant because it makes you think that it's going to be eucalyptus and cotton all over again. And I said that when I was just looking at the catalog on paper. These two seem redundant of each other, and they're so not because this is so mismarketed and so misnamed. Oh my gosh. Kringle, please. I don't approve of your repackaging strategy, especially when you're not transparent about what it is that you're repackaging. But if there was ever a candle that needs repackaged and remarketed, this is it. Why did you call it cotton flowers when there's nothing cotton-like, there's nothing linen about it at all? This is a slightly tropical spa-leaning candle. And you needed a tropical spa candle in this collection. It would have gone well with coral. Oh, man, that is good. It's one of the best candles that I've seen from from Kringle in a long time. And it's so OG for them. It's so OG. I don't know if I have a Dewdrops. What was the other candle? If you're a Kringle person, tell me what was the other candle? I burned it for a really long time. It was another spa candle from theirs. Spa might have even been in the name of it. Is this a repackage? I don't think it is. This is lovely. And I wasn't so sure about some of those other ones, but it's very much in that genre. Last but not least, I should have led with this, Cotton Flowers, which is not cotton flowers at all. It's mint and freesia, and I am so here for it. Done. I want this candle. So this is one of the country candles, which means that it comes in a really beautiful wax, like a green wax here, which is fine. Although I do think with mint and freesia, it should have been like a light green, you know, like a, yeah, like a light, a very, I was about to say a pistachio color, but maybe more of like this color, possibly. Yeah, I would go with this color. Yeah. Anyway, it's a country candle, so it doesn't come in the 3-wick, which means they're not on sale right now. But I will 1000% be getting one of these in the medium apothecary. Medium is my favorite. I'll get it in the medium apothecary. Oh, what is this? This is not it. No, this is the laundry day. Yes. Yes. Talk to me. Did you get this candle? I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Just objectively, I think it's the best candle here. Although, coral is very nice. And lemon tea and roses is very nice. Both of them are. But I would say that cotton flowers is better than both. And more unique than both. And freesia to me is everything. Kringle, can you do more freesia? We're getting a little tired of jasmine. Freesia. Plumeria. Yes. Okay, so this was just a really lopsided video, and I apologize because it started out negative and it got real positive toward the end. Because when Kringle does it well, Kringle does it well. Ah! Oh, it's giving me chills. It's giving me chills. Okay, I'll link everything down below. For me, the biggest disappointment is the peach and the blueberry, to be perfectly honest, because I don't want a pineapple peach, and I don't want warm cream on my blueberries. I'd almost just rather it be straight up blueberry Pop-Tart than like that warm cream note, but God bless. I will definitely burn them. Tis the season. Tis the season. I will link all of these candles down below, and this is a Sunday morning. I believe that the sale is going on today and maybe tomorrow too. I'm not exactly sure when it ends. So I would recommend the coral one for sure if you're anywhere in that genre of fragrances. And if you like men's cologne, I would go with the Sage and Palo Santo, but only if that's your vibe. And Snowy Bridge, because it's a fantastic Christmas candle, but like you got to think ahead a little bit on that one. It's not seasonal. Unfortunately, the ones that I would very highly recommend are, at least right now, not on sale. So if something changes here over the weekend, over the next couple days, that would be fantastic. But from a fragrance perspective, regardless of the sale, I would highly recommend Cotton Flowers, far and away, Lemon Tea and Roses. And if you like Laundry Day scents, or if you are like me, kind of shy of Laundry Day scents, but like spa and like masculine, I actually think you would probably like Eucalyptus and Cotton. Santo and Santal is a real toss-up to me. I did not like it initially, but then when I smelled it after the big men's cologne, it had a lot more of a floral freshness than before when I smelled it. It's probably a little on the generic side, but I'm gonna burn it and see. That's what I've got for you. I hope that was helpful. I know it was so uber long, but many of you like really, really long videos. You probably like put it on, clean your house. I go walking and I listen, and it is really nice to just have a really long video, because then you're not irritated and are like, oh no, I've got to find another video. You know what I mean? And then you're like, whatever. So it's a new era for YouTube watching, and I think a lot of you really prefer actually a longer video, and we talked for a very long time. Kringle, I still have my eye on you. I still wish you the best, hope for you for the best. There's still a lot of things that need improvement. There's no question. But man, fragrances like Cotton Flowers reminds me of why I keep coming back. I'll catch you guys in the next one.